The story began when God created humans. He made witches to share his power and help guide humanity. The witches took their job seriously, but after a long time, humans began to hate and hunt them down. We follow a witch named Morgan and her young apprentice Adonis, who seem to be lost in the desert. Morgan is struggling to read her map while Adonis whips out his Google Maps. Morgan warns him about using such a strange device, hinting that they're being tracked. Adonis casually explains it's just a phone he made using summoning magic, which doesn't rely on radio waves, making it undetectable by military tech. Adonis teases Morgan for sticking to paper maps in modern times, but Morgan ends up giving him a lesson. She tells him to stop moping, but Adonis can't help but wonder why they're always on the run. Morgan explains that's just the reality for witches now. Blending in and hiding is all they can do since people's views have turned negative. She jokes that she's more like a ninja than a witch these days. They're searching for a place where witches can live peacefully, ideally somewhere with a school for Adonis. However, Adonis insists he just wants to keep learning from her. Morgan teases him for having a thing for older women, and they continue their journey. Suddenly, a group of soldiers spots them. Adonis wants to take them on, but Morgan says he's not ready yet. She summons her staff and prepares to use her ice magic to fight. In the Empire of Radia, Emperor Goth is furious after receiving a report about their failed attempt to capture Morgan. The messenger is beaten for his failure, and the Emperor demands that Morgan be caught no matter what. Meanwhile, Morgan has defeated the soldiers who tried to capture her and tells Adonis it's time to leave. Adonis, frustrated that she won't let him fight, believes he could have handled the situation. To prove his point, he summons a huge sword, but Morgan tells him again that he's still too inexperienced for such battles. Adonis suspects the real reason she's holding him back is because he's human and she doesn't want him to kill his own kind, but Adonis reassures her that he doesn't care about that. He just wants to protect her. Morgan is touched by his determination and acknowledges his feelings. Just then, one of the soldiers' devices activates, transmitting their location. The ground starts shaking, and they're suddenly surrounded by a green light. Confused and scared, they stick together as they are teleported away. Back at the Empire, the Emperor addresses his people and talks about how they used to rely on witches for knowledge and protection. But now, with their technological advancements, they have become strong. He declares that it's time to eliminate the witches and become the rulers of the world. The crowd cheers in agreement. Morgan and Adonis find themselves teleported right in front of the Emperor. Shocked and outnumbered, Adonis tries to give Morgan a chance to escape, but is quickly restrained. Morgan threatens to kill everyone if they don't release him, but the Emperor isn't intimidated. She starts casting a powerful spell, but her magic suddenly fails because a device underground is blocking it. The crowd mocks her as Adonis tries to use his powers too, but they don't work either. The Emperor declares the age of witches is over and humiliates Morgan by ripping her shirt and striking her down. Adonis breaks free and tries to save her, but he is captured again. The Emperor orders his men to kill Adonis. Desperate, Morgan begs the Emperor to spare Adonis's life, claiming she kidnapped him and raised him as her slave. She offers her own life in exchange. Adonis is stunned by her plea and tries to use his magic, but it's futile. The Emperor prepares to finish off Morgan. She thanks Adonis for everything, remembering their journey together and expressing her love for him. The Emperor shoots her, and she is executed by a firing squad. Adonis watches in horror as the Emperor displays Morgan's head to the cheering crowd. Filled with rage and grief, Adonis vows to destroy them all and avenge Morgan's death. 10 years later, in a Radia Empire prison, two women fight over a loaf of bread. A girl named Daroka steps in and offers her share to stop the fight. The women quickly take it, and Daroka's friend Anna worries if she'll be okay without food. Daroka shows she's still energetic and tells Anna not to worry. Anna can't believe Daroka can still help others despite their bad situation. She thinks about how, even though the witches were wiped out and technology advanced, wars never ended. She and Anna are prisoners of war, but Daroka tries to cheer her up with a puppet show. Suddenly, guards come in calling for prisoner number 28. The girls know that people who get called never come back. They want Anna, but Daroka steps forward instead. Anna cries, realizing Daroka is sacrificing herself for her. Daroka is taken to the warden, who says the prisoners are being sold as slaves. The warden takes a selfie with Daroka. Daroka bites his finger and escapes, taking his phone. She tries to unlock the cells, but finds the phone needs the warden's voice. Imitating his voice, she manages to open all the cells. Daroka tells everyone to run, causing chaos. She looks for an exit, but ends up in a strange room. A guard catches her, but then panics as a containment unit starts to unlock, revealing someone inside. The man breaks free, and it's Adonis, looking very angry. The guards are terrified as Adonis quickly takes one out. Another guard tries to shoot him, but Adonis deflects the shot and uses the guard's gun against him. Daroka is scared as Adonis approaches and shoots her, but instead of hurting her, he frees her. As chaos continues, the guards struggle to regain control. At the National Security Bureau, Director Yamato gets a report about the incident. He orders his executive Ikout to handle it, and Ikout eagerly agrees. Yamato's sister Yuki is not happy with Ikout's casual attitude. She reminds him of their duty to keep order in the Empire. Yamato reassures her, saying there's a reason Ikout is an executive. Back at the prison, the warden is terrified to find out that Adonis has escaped. He can't figure out how Daroka managed to open Adonis's cell, because even his phone shouldn't have had that ability. On top of that, Adonis's magic pen is missing. Outside, Adonis uses his magic for the first time in 10 years. He fires a huge bullet that crashes into a building, planning to destroy the city. Ikout is cleaning up the mess in the prison when he hears about the attack and decides to go there. But first, he takes down the warden. Daroka also manages to get out, but when she sees the destruction Adonis is causing, she feels it's her fault for freeing him. Adonis walks through the streets thinking about how his master wouldn't want him to seek revenge, but he can't let go of his anger. He summons a giant robot and begins to destroy everything in his path. An officer gets a report about the attack, but thinks it's a prank. Suddenly, a car crashes through the wall, and the driver looks terrified. The officer thinks the man is crazy until he sees the chaos outside. Yamato and Yuki watch from a distance and confirm that Adonis is causing the destruction. Yamato suggests using their magic suppression device, but it hasn't been used in 10 years, so they aren't sure if it will still work. The city declares a state of emergency and tanks are deployed. They fire the giant robot, but miss. Adonis retaliates by smashing buildings and throwing debris at the tanks. For humans to use magic, they need to understand and organize it. Even while Adonis was locked up, he practiced in his mind, planning to destroy everyone who benefited from his master's death. Adonis summons 2 massive guns and starts shooting everyone. Even though he's getting his revenge, it doesn't make him feel better, and he starts to cry. Ikout sees Adonis in the giant robot's hand, and the NSB sends jets to bomb him. Civilians get caught in the explosions, and a building is about to collapse on a child, but Daroka saves the kid just in time. She feels bad for everything that has happened and promises to fix things. Meanwhile, at the palace, the Emperor is bedridden with an incurable illness. He wonders if it's a curse from God, but feels no regret for exterminating the witches, believing it was necessary for humanity's sake. Adonis is battling soldiers on the ground, and his magic is too powerful for them. He wipes them all out and is about to kill the last soldier when Daroka begs him to stop. She thinks he's done enough and doesn't want to see any more innocent people die. This angers Adonis. He recalls sparing her because she was from a different country, but now he considers killing everyone. Daroka tells him Morgan wouldn't want this, but Adonis snaps at her not to mention his master's name. He suspects the humans are using her to distract him, remembering how they fight dirty. Daroka then reveals she's a witch. Adonis doesn't believe witches still exist, but she insists some survived. Adonis asks why they didn't save his master, and Daroka explains they were too desperate to escape. Adonis doesn't want her apologies, but Daroka says they can bring Morgan back to life. Adonis finds this hard to believe, but Daroka says she infiltrated the country to find him and use his memories to resurrect Morgan. Adonis is ready to kill her, but stops when he sees her face, which reminds him of his master. He breaks down in tears. Daroka tells him he's not alone anymore, but suddenly she gets shot. Ikout, who missed his target, is sad because he intended to hit both. In a flashback, Daroka watches as soldiers burn a village and kill witches. A witch named Mia tells her the humans attacked without warning. Daroka wonders why, since the witches did nothing wrong. Mia knows they can't fight back because a device is blocking their magic, so she tells Daroka to escape and inform their leader Ilya. Mia advises Daroka to follow the Star of Revelation, which will lead her to Ilya's mansion. Mia urges her to run, and Daroka dashes away as soldiers surround Mia. Back in the present, Daroka is seriously hurt. Adonis tries to keep her awake and asks how he can bring Morgan back to life. Daroka manages to give him some important information, but soldiers start shooting and Daroka dies. Adonis realizes he's surrounded. Using his magic, he stops the bullets in midair and sends them back at the soldiers, killing them. Ikout tries to shoot Adonis from a distance, but Adonis controls the bullet, makes it huge, and sends it back, killing Ikout instantly. Meanwhile, Yuki heads to the magic suppression device, thinking it might stop Adonis. Director Feta stops her, saying they can't use the device. Yuki demands to know why, so Feta calls Yamato and explains that the device releases particles that cause a deadly disease, killing human cells. This is why the soldiers involved in the witch hunt face terrible fates. Feta explains that the natural environment has changed since the witches were wiped out, making the device even more dangerous now. She also reveals that the Emperor was exposed to this device, which is why he is now terminally ill. Yamato watches as Adonis continues his destruction. Feta tells Yuki to leave, but Yuki rushes to the device, knowing Adonis is a huge threat. Feta orders everyone to retreat and chases after Yuki, telling her not to activate the device. Yuki ignores her and activates it anyway. Adonis's magic suddenly stops, and he drops his pen. Yamato gets a call from Feta, saying she has turned off the device. He worries about Yuki, but Feta urges him to focus on Adonis before he can use magic again. She reminds him that they must win because the Empire is supposed to be unbeatable. Yamato orders the soldiers to attack Adonis. As Adonis tries to grab his pen, soldiers aim their guns at him. Suddenly, a girl rushes forward as a nearby building collapses, blocking the soldiers' view. The girl beheads Adonis, who accepts his fate, happy to reunite with Morgan. She presents Adonis's head to the soldiers, who cheer, thinking the threat is over. Feta, however, tells them it's too soon to celebrate. They still need to collect Adonis's body and rescue survivors. He asks about the girl who killed Adonis, learning she's a new recruit, but he orders the officials to focus on finding Yuki instead. Feta and Yuki get medical help, while the Emperor speaks to the public. He blames Adonis for the disaster and many deaths. He admits they don't know how Adonis could use magic, given he was just human, and feels guilty for letting him live so long. The Emperor reassures everyone, saying their empire is the greatest with its advanced science and top soldiers. A girl named Irie watches the Emperor's speech. Her instructor tells the class that some students died, but they will continue with exams. One student wonders why Adonis, a human, sided with witches. The instructor suggests he was brainwashed. After class, a girl approaches IIE, claiming she knows what really happened, but IIE dismisses it as a natural reaction. IIE visits the site of the incident to pay her respects. She is angry at the government for failing to protect its citizens and apologizes to her boyfriend, feeling guilty for running away during Adonis's rampage, which led to her boyfriend getting crushed. She hates herself for abandoning him. While looking at pictures of Adonis, she finds him attractive but realizes the deputy director, Gorgeous, is watching her. He works for the government but assures her he won't report her. After she leaves, he contacts his subordinate, Charmy, saying she's been influenced by terrorists and should be arrested for treason. A soldier informs Gorgeous that they've completed the final check in the disaster area. As they prepare to leave, Charmy reports that an analysis revealed Adonis's body was fake, suggesting he might still be alive. Adonis is in a lot of pain as some witches treat his injuries. They worry that the transfer was too intense for a human to handle. Aelia arrives and uses her calming magic to soothe his mind. Adonis remembers the events and sees that the soldier who helped him was actually Daroka's friend, Anna. She tells him that getting him out was the most important thing. Suddenly, Adonis is sealed in a protective ball and flown away, crashing to the ground. Aelia hugs him, thanking him for fighting for the witches. Adonis demands to know where he is, and Aelia tells him he is in a nation of witches. The next day, Adonis is given a tour, seeing the witches living peaceful lives. Aelia tells him to take it easy because his body went through a lot. The witches greet him warmly as Morgan's apprentice. Adonis wonders how they knew his master. Aelia explains that Morgan was well known for her strength and kindness, but was exiled because she took a human apprentice. Their magic is considered a gift from God, meant only for witches. Getting impatient, Adonis asks Aelia to get to the point. She then shows him his quill and hands it back to him. Adonis demands to know if it's really possible to bring back his master. Aelia assures him that witches don't lie. Feeling relieved, Adonis suddenly notices the earth above them and realizes they are on the moon. Aelia shows him the sacred Nino tree, explaining that it is the last one they saved from Earth before humans destroyed the rest. This tree helps witches to be born or reborn. Adonis is fascinated, thinking Morgan could be inside one of the fruits. Aelia explains more about the Nino tree. She says that magic is the act of turning thoughts into physical forms, and Adonis's summoning magic is a perfect example of this. She tells him that by using his magic, he can seal Morgan's memories into one of the fruits on the tree, and this will bring her back to life. Adonis is amazed and hopeful, but also cautious. Aelia tells him to take his time and think about it. When he is ready, he can call her to proceed. Adonis is deep in thought about his master when Anna approaches him. She starts crying about losing Daroka to save him. Adonis brushes it off, saying it's not his problem, and begins to walk away. Anna accuses him of being selfish, only caring about bringing his master back. She questions why they even risked their lives for him. Adonis, however, knows the real plan of the witches. Anna is surprised by what he says, but Adonis tells her to stop acting clueless. He reveals that before Daroka died, she warned him about the witches' true motives. He explains that witches can survive harsh conditions without protection, and their grand facility is actually a prison for humans. Adonis believes the witches want to kidnap people, teach them magic, and use them as soldiers because they are nearing extinction. Only Morgan can make the special quills needed for this magic, so they want to bring her back. Anna, desperate, asks Adonis what he will do and pleads for his help. Adonis says he will bring back his master no matter what, but if she refuses to help the witches, he will see them as enemies. The time for the ritual comes, and Adonis uses his magic to transfer his memories into the fruit. He recalls his fond memories with Morgan and how much he loves her. As the ritual completes, a bright light flashes, and to his surprise, it's Doroka who emerges from the fruit. Adonis is crying as he tells Morgan he loves her. Because of his love, he can't force her to go through the same suffering again. He decides not to bring her back to life, as there's no place for her. Humans want to kill her, and witches want to use her as a weapon. To save her from a terrible fate, he uses his magic to change the spell and resurrect Doroka instead. He catches Doroka as she revives, saying he didn't want to leave his debt to her unpaid. Doroka is confused to be alive. She remembers dying back on Earth. Embarrassed as she realizes she's naked and quickly backs away, asking Adonis to forget what he saw. Adonis tells her to just put on a jacket and stand up. Meanwhile, the other witches are growing angrier by the minute. Alia, with an angry smile, questions how Adonis could do such a thing after all they did for him. They brought him there, healed his wounds, and guaranteed his safety, yet he ruined their plans. The other witches start accusing him, saying it's typical human behavior, claiming he never really loved Morgan or that Doroka must have convinced him somehow. Alia glares at him with murderous intent. Adonis tells them all to shut up, saying the choice was his alone. Alia, angry at Adonis's tone, raises her hand to cast a spell on him. Suddenly, several lights appear around her, and she panics, questioning what Adonis did. Adonis says he didn't do anything, he's just a long-term prisoner, and pulls out a tracking chip from his body. An explosion occurs, and the last Nino tree catches fire. The culprit is Yamato, who tracked Adonis using the chip. Yamato faces Adonis and the witches, saying they're trapped and will be wiped out like rats. Adonis tells him to stop being rude since he invited him to this final place. A witch shouts to Alia, saying she'll handle the burning Nino tree with water magic. Suddenly, her head is cut off, and the tree keeps burning. Alia, frustrated, tells everyone to get ready to fight the humans. They transform into their battle gear. Adonis confronts Yamato, who tries to attack him quickly, but instead, Adonis uses magic to take Yamato's gun. Yamato falls, and Adonis shoots him, but Doroka stops him by grabbing his shirt. Nearby, witches fight soldiers, using different magic to kill many soldiers. Alia uses her magic to make the soldiers float. Their bullets slow down and miss her. She gathers the soldiers together and crushes them, covering the area in blood. She thinks they'll win, but then sees more soldiers arrive, killing some witches. She realizes the humans will keep coming until the witches are exhausted. On Earth, people watch live video feeds of the battle on the moon. They wonder why there are still witches alive when they were supposed to be gone 10 years ago. Director Feta, on life support due to cancer from the magic suppression machine, explains why they failed to find the witches. She says during the witch hunt, they used capsules to send dead witches into space. Those capsules were probably used by witches to escape to the moon, where they built a hidden station. Dinma is furious that the witches are still alive and blames Feta for not discovering this sooner despite their big budget. He says her failure will cost her more than her job. Shirasagi, director of the New York, tells Dinma to calm down and focus on solving the problem. They can deal with public relations later after they have finally dealt with the witches. In a flashback, we see Yamato caring for Yuki, who now has stage 5 cancer from the magic suppression machine. He remembers how she was always by his side. Even when he became a director, she became his vice director, the youngest ever. Yamato loves his sister dearly. Despite not liking bureaucracy, Yuki took the job to stay close to him. He blames Adonis for Yuki's sacrifice to stop him and vows to make Adonis suffer for what happened to her. Yamato sets his battle suit to 500% output and stands up, severely wounded but now incredibly fast. He charges at Adonis and punches him across the field. Doroka runs to Adonis, but he tells her to keep her eyes on Yamato, who is determined to kill him. Yamato yells that he will make Adonis pay for siding with the witches. As he prepares to draw his sword, he thinks about retiring and living peacefully with Yuki once this battle is over. He unsheathes his sword and unleashes a powerful anti-witch slash that stretches across the field. The attack is so strong that it instantly kills all the witches in the area. Adonis dodges, but Alia and many others are killed. Even Doroka barely escapes the attack, saved by Anna's magic, but Anna couldn't save herself. Back at headquarters, they ask for a report on the situation at the witch base because they've lost the feed and can't see what's happening. The whole base is covered in red, as Doroka cries over her friend's dead body. Adonis and Yamato are the only ones left fighting. Yamato sends a message to his headquarters saying he has taken down the witches and only needs to finish off Adonis. Adonis uses magic to put on metal armor and charges at Yamato. Adonis jumps to avoid Yamato's sword slash. As he lands, he enchants his fist, breaking Yamato's sword and punching him in the chest. Yamato doesn't give up. He uses his suit to trap Adonis and regenerates his blade to slash him again. The witches, terrified, sit in a pool of blood from their fallen friends. Alia, who is badly hurt, tells them not to lose hope, but they feel hopeless because the Nino tree, which allows witches to be born and resurrected, has been destroyed. One which tries to rally the others, saying they need to help Adonis, but she is shot in the back as more soldiers arrive. Yamato sticks his sword in the ground, creating a tornado that pushes Adonis back and gives Yamato a chance to stab him, but Adonis has a trick. He brings down a huge sword, cutting off Yamato's arm. The suit stops the bleeding, and Yamato says Adonis is too dangerous to live and must die here. He raises his sword to kill Adonis. Just before he strikes, Doroka yells for him to stop. Her spell freezes everyone, and the soldiers point their guns at her. She calmly walks past them to Yamato and asks his name. He answers, confused why she did. Adonis laughs and tells Doroka to kill Yamato. Yamato demands she release him, but Doroka, with a trembling hand, asks him to promise to leave with his soldiers if she undoes the spell. She wants to stop the fighting. Adonis calls her crazy, reminding her that Yamato killed many witches, including her best friend. Yamato mocks her, saying witches are evil and cause chaos. He says Adonis, who killed many innocent people, must die. Doroka uses magic to stop his punches and argues back. She says humans started hunting witches for no reason, and most destruction is caused by human inventions, not witches. Yamato still refuses to listen, so Doroka uses powerful magic, showing him a memory of his past with her as a childhood love. Overwhelmed, Yamato agrees to call off the soldiers and leave. Adonis, full of revenge, takes a chance to stab and behead Yamato. The soldiers are shocked, watching their leader die. Adonis walks up to Doroka, praising her powerful magic. He suggests they use it to destroy humanity instead of seeking peace. He tells her to stop pretending and join him in his quest for revenge against humans. Back on Earth, the Emperor is getting a report about the battle on the moon between Yamato and the witches. He's not interested in the details, just whether the witches will die. The messenger tries to explain what's happening, including that they lost communication with the task force, but the Emperor only wants to know if they're winning. The messenger, unsure of the situation, says they are winning just to satisfy the Emperor. The Emperor asks if Adonis is also on the moon. When he hears that Adonis is there, he looks up at the sky and shouts with joy. He's thrilled that all the witches and Adonis will die together on the moon. He calls them sore losers for trying to escape to the moon to avoid death. The Emperor then turns to his wife, asking for some affection, showing how dependent he is on her. He presses his face in her chest and laughs wildly, saying he finally killed all the witches like she wanted. The messenger, still present, thinks the Emperor has lost his mind, and he's right. The Emperor's behavior is strange and unsettling. The Emperor's wife, who is actually a witch, had used love magic to make the Emperor kill all the witches. Now that he has done what she wanted, the Emperor's wife tells him he can die. Under her spell, the Emperor happily walks to the edge of the roof. The messenger tries to stop him, but the Emperor is determined to jump because his wife told him to. Standing on the edge, he talks about all his achievements, creating technological advancements, establishing the kingdom of Raya, and killing all the witches for his beloved wife. The queen urges him to jump and to do a flip, and he falls to his death, landing on a spike. The messenger realizes the queen is a witch and tries to attack her, but she uses her magic on him too, making him report that the Emperor simply slipped and fell. She then calls Shirasaji, who is standing behind her, and asks if he has any problem with the Emperor killing himself. Shirasaji doesn't care, seeing the Emperor as a puppet who has outlived his usefulness. The queen, named Dorothea, explains that her love magic can control men, but not women. This is why the other witches were a threat to her. They had equal or greater power, and she couldn't control them. 10 years ago, she and the Emperor started hunting witches because of this, and the Emperor's sudden hatred for witches was her doing. Now, thinking all the witches are dead, she plans to take over the world, but Dorothea's true goal is not world domination, but Adonis. She wants to use her love magic to control him, making him her most powerful servant. As the only man capable of using magic, he will be a valuable asset to her. Dorothea is a witch who transcends the multiverse and is obsessed with Adonis. Meanwhile, Adonis asks Daroka to help him destroy the human world. Daroka says no, so Adonis decides to do it alone. Since Daroka's spell is still active, the soldiers can't move. Adonis uses a spell to create bloody tentacles from the blood on the floor, wrapping them around the soldiers and tearing them apart. The soldiers scream in pain and fear, while Daroka tries to stop Adonis from killing them. Daroka doesn't want to use her magic on Adonis, but she feels she has no choice. Before she can act, Adonis appears in front of her and dares her to try using her magic on him. He threatens to make sure she dies a second time if she does, then goes back to his killing spree. Daroka cries out, telling Adonis that his revenge will only cause more people to seek revenge on him, but Adonis doesn't care. He feels he has nothing left to live for except revenge. He finishes off the remaining soldiers, their blood splattering across his face. Adonis walks past Daroka and over to Yamato's dead body. He grabs Yamato's head and magically removes his face. Using Yamato's face and voice, Adonis sends a message to the Empire's headquarters, pretending to be Yamato. He says they won the battle against the witches and asks to be teleported back. However, the director at headquarters notices something strange and realizes it isn't Yamato. Adonis removes Yamato's face and grabs Daroka, planning to take her with him because her magic is useful. Daroka slaps him and asks if he thinks Morgan would be happy with what he's done. Before Adonis can answer, the Empire's teleporter activates, surrounding them both. Aelia, still on the moon, realizes this was Adonis's plan to trick the Empire into thinking they won and then return to Earth in disguise. As they're being teleported, Adonis silently apologizes to the witches who died because of him, showing he still feels some guilt. Back on Earth, the Empire is ready for Adonis. They figured out he was pretending to be Yamato and prepared an ambush, opening fire as soon as the teleportation completes, but nothing arrives. It's announced that the teleport coordinates were changed and Adonis's signal is lost. Aelia realizes that Adonis escaped and tells the witch's apprentice that Adonis has won this round. Somewhere in the desert, Adonis and Daroka are standing together. Adonis points to the stars, showing Daroka that they are back on Earth. He is covered in blood, but looks determined. He tells Daroka that they will start taking over the Radia Empire. They will attack small towns and villages first. We see a flashback of what happened before they teleported. Daroka was begging Adonis to help the witches still alive on the moon, but Adonis was busy using his magic to change the teleportation coordinates, focused on his plan to return to Earth. Adonis tells Daroka they will gather supplies and information as they attack places on their way to Radia. He is ready to start, but Daroka wants to go back to the other witches. Adonis calls her foolish, saying that the witches on the moon are all dead. Daroka refuses to believe this and demands to be sent back. Adonis gets angry and calls her a spoiled child. Daroka snaps back, saying he is the childish one because all he cares about is revenge. Adonis uses his memory magic to show Daroka how she begged Yamato to save them. She feels ashamed and cannot watch. Adonis realizes that Daroka didn't fit in with the other witches because they hated humans, but Daroka wanted peace. Daroka tells Adonis that she wanted to meet him because she wanted to know why Morgan chose him as her apprentice. She hoped Adonis could bring peace between humans and witches, but now she sees she was wrong. Adonis tells her she doesn't understand him at all. He says humans will never forgive him, just as he will never forgive them, so the fighting will never end. Adonis silences Daroka, saying Morgan's life was worth more than all of humanity. The world made a huge mistake by taking Morgan from him, and it deserves to be destroyed. Daroka doesn't understand his anger and wonders how far he will go. She blames him for the deaths of the witches on the moon because he brought the humans there. Adonis says bringing the humans was the only way to get back to Earth. The witches were just pawns in his plan, and Daroka still can't believe how cold-hearted he is. Daroka becomes very upset. She says the witches fought hard to survive and didn't deserve to be used in Adonis's plan. Adonis silences her again, asking how she can defend humans when they killed so many witches. He accuses her of betraying the witches by not wanting revenge. Daroka disagrees, saying that revenge won't heal any wounds. Adonis doesn't care anymore. He starts to walk away, saying he has nothing left to lose. Daroka tackles him, reminding him that he still has the life that Morgan worked so hard to protect. She begs him not to let the cruelty of the world change him. She isn't asking him to forgive humans, just not to let revenge consume him. She fears that seeking revenge will destroy him and make him like the people who took Morgan from him. Daroka thinks Adonis still has plenty to lose, but they can't understand each other. For Adonis, revenge is the only thing that proves he and Morgan existed. He feels that if he stops seeking revenge, every trace of Morgan's existence would disappear, and that thought terrifies him. Daroka breaks down in tears, and Adonis points out that all she does is cry. They start to understand each other a little, but Daroka notices Adonis's health is getting worse. A group of bikers sees them from a distance and thinks they're a couple having fun. The leader, Mr. Punch, decides what to do with them later. Adonis wakes up in a strange place, tired of always waking up in unfamiliar spots. He tries to remember what happened. He recalls Daroka asking bikers for help because he was losing blood and couldn't move. Mr. Punch, the leader of the bikers, shows up and wonders if Adonis's cold eyes mean he's killed someone. Punch doesn't understand much and offers Adonis a drink. Adonis refuses, thinking it's dirty water, but Punch insists it's the best drink ever. Adonis just wants to know where Daroka is. Punch explains that Daroka was looking after him until a while ago when some young guys took her away. Adonis demands to know where she is, so Punch takes him outside. Punch welcomes him to the wasteland, a place full of people from poor countries, refugees, and escaped slaves from Radia. It's a place where people left behind by society end up. Suddenly, Adonis hears Daroka's voice begging someone to stop. She's surrounded by men, and Adonis worries they are hurting her. Punch explains that they don't see many women in the wasteland and makes a crude comment about her screams. Adonis rushes to save Daroka, ready to fight, but is surprised to see she is learning to ride a motorcycle. She was asking them to stop the bike, but the guys were just encouraging her. Daroka is happy to see Adonis awake, but falls off the motorcycle. She's concerned about his injuries, though she looks hurt too. Daroka gives Adonis some small figurines and apologizes for not realizing how injured he was. Adonis coldly throws the figurines away. Punch announces they will have a party, and Daroka helps with the preparations. That night, everyone drinks heavily, and Daroka serves the drinks. An older man tries to flirt with her, but she ignores him. Adonis isn't in the mood to party, which makes Daroka sad. Some guys joke that she must be fighting with her boyfriend. She tries to explain that they aren't together, but no one believes her. They ask about their story, so Daroka says they are traveling the world. Everyone laughs, finding it funny they would come to the wasteland. They think Daroka is a nice girl. Suddenly, the men start collapsing. Daroka panics, thinking Adonis poisoned them, but he explains he used magic to turn their alcohol into a tranquilizer. Daroka is relieved they are alive, but worried when Adonis finds a gun. She begs him to stop, reminding him these people saved them and gave them medical help. Adonis doesn't care, but says he won't kill them because they aren't worth it. Adonis shocks Daroka by saying he no longer needs her. She asks why, and he explains that unlike her, he can't laugh and have fun after losing someone important. He can't relax or joke around. Adonis believes they are too different. Daroka explains she pretends to be fine to blend in because they can't let people know she's a witch. She laughs to keep up appearances but isn't really okay. Adonis tells Daroka never to end up like him and then leaves. The next morning, Mr. Punch asks Daroka if her boyfriend left. Daroka quickly corrects him, saying Adonis isn't her boyfriend. Punch comments on how bold Adonis is for leaving without even saying thank you, leaving Daroka alone. Punch thinks Daroka made the right choice by separating from Adonis, but Daroka knows Adonis is actually kind, even if no one else sees it. Meanwhile, Adonis wakes up alone and remembers everything Daroka told him. Her words have affected him, but he hates admitting it. Suddenly, he notices someone following him. He wonders if the tranquilizer he used was too weak or if it's someone from the Empire. Either way, he's ready to fight and declares he'll stop anyone who gets in his way. Back in the wasteland, Daroka is shocked when Mr. Punch reveals he knew Adonis was the witch's apprentice all along. Daroka tries to deny it, but Punch insists it's true. He recalls a memory from when he was dying in the desert, and Morgan, the ice witch, and her young apprentice, Adonis, saved him. Punch explains that the greatest happiness is having something worth fighting for, even against the whole world. He tells Daroka that you can't settle the question of whether revenge is right or wrong. Adonis has chosen revenge, and even if it leads to his death, that's his choice. Punch asks Daroka what she plans to do. She says she doesn't want anyone else to die because she couldn't protect Anna and the others. She refuses to let Adonis die. Punch wonders why she's still talking to him instead of helping Adonis. We then see that the person following Adonis is actually Daroka. Adonis is surprised and wonders if she is trying to stop him. Daroka promises not to get in his way and asks to travel with him. Adonis is shocked. Daroka explains she thought about it and believes Adonis needs her. She says it's dangerous to travel alone and that having good company makes the journey easier. She thinks they would both benefit. Adonis wonders why she didn't just stay away. He thinks she is a noisy girl but starts chasing after her. Elsewhere, In the Radia Empire, a large crowd gathers for the new emperor's coronation. Oz looks over the city and is happy to see it peaceful. At a stadium, the 23rd emperor of Radia, known for his great achievements, is praised. This emperor, Goth, was responsible for huge advancements in science and technology. Thanks to him, they have futuristic trains and cell phones, and they no longer need the witch's power. Emperor Goth was very smart, but unfortunately, not smart enough to avoid death. The nation has been restless without him, but now they are ready to welcome a new leader. As a countdown begins, everyone eagerly waits to see their new monarch. When the countdown ends, cheers erupt for their new leader, Queen Dorothea. The scene is strange as people scream for her, and she performs like a K-pop star. Her performance is broadcast everywhere, and Dorothea uses her love spell to gain fans. She becomes incredibly popular online, and many guys get in trouble with their girlfriends for watching her. During her performance, Dorothea tells her fans she loves them all. In a distant place, a man watches the broadcast on his dragon-shaped phone and comments on the irony of Dorothea, a witch becoming the human monarch. She exterminated her own kind using human science and now rules the world. Meanwhile, people are being executed, and Feta is not happy. The man with the dragon phone realizes Dorothea is crazier than expected, and Feta's head is added to a pile, showing why she was upset. Dorothea finishes her performance, and particles from the crowd form a crown on her head. The stadium erupts in applause for their new leader. In the wasteland, Shirasagi is happy for Dorothea, though a bit jealous, like when a childhood friend becomes very popular. Shirasagi has a job to do, but notes how smart Adonis is for breaking the device he took from Yamato, making it hard to trace him. Shirasagi decides to find Adonis the hard way using helpful robot hands. Adonis is with Doroka, and Shirasagi strangely calls him the boy loved by the goddess. Adonis wonders what Doroka plans to do since he refuses to stop seeking revenge. Doroka tries to change Adonis's heart and suggests he consider not fighting people like Mr. Punch and his crew, who are nice. Adonis, however, refuses. He allows Doroka to travel with him, but makes it clear she can't interfere with his plans. Doroka understands and stays quiet. Adonis asks Doroka to confirm that her love spell can make men fall in love with her and control them. She confirms it. Adonis wonders why she didn't use it on him when they first met in prison. He thinks Alia might have ordered her to capture him by any means, and that using the spell would have been the easiest way. Doroka explains simply that Adonis wouldn't have liked their first meeting to go that way. Adonis reflects dramatically, realizing she is right and that their first meeting would have been terrible. As they talk, the water in a puddle nearby magically turns into little fairy-like creatures. Doroka reaches out to touch them, and Adonis and Doroka arrive at a place called Sandland. It looks abandoned, and Doroka thinks no one is there. Adonis tells her to stay put while he checks things out, but she doesn't want to be alone. Adonis notices she has a white bag, and Doroka explains that Mr. Punch gave her some supplies, including a cute snowman tent she thinks is cool, but Adonis has other things on his mind. The place looks deserted, and Doroka wonders if they're ghosts. Adonis notices broken windows, but no signs of fighting, finding it strange that no one is around. They decide to check the police station, the biggest building in town, hoping to find some answers. Doroka freaks out when she sees a mouse, but Adonis isn't amused. They make it to the second floor when a hologram suddenly appears, asking if they need help. Doroka thinks it's a ghost, but Adonis explains it's just a 3D image. Doroka apologizes to the hologram, but rushes to catch up with Adonis. They keep looking around but find nothing useful until they reach some jail cells. Adonis mentions that they both have bad memories of prisons. Suddenly, Adonis hears something and tells Doroka to be quiet. They hear someone singing and playing a guitar. It's a sad love song, and they see a man in one of the cells. Doroka tries to get his attention, but he doesn't respond. Adonis looks annoyed, so Doroka tries again, louder this time. The man is startled and surprised to see strangers. He asks why they're there since the city is supposed to be empty. Doroka explains they're just passing through. The man finds it strange they are touring abandoned ruins, and Adonis finds it strange the man is there alone. The man says he is a prisoner and has no choice. There seems to be another person in the cell with him. Doroka wonders why Adonis wants to leave, but he says they have no reason to stay, and the place disgusts him. The man laughs, saying everyone left the city after the gear expansion because they didn't want to live old-fashioned lives without witches. People follow whoever speaks the loudest. Adonis asks if there's a nearby city, and the man mentions Mamuda, 70 kilometers away. Doroka apologizes one last time, and they leave. Doroka is worried the prisoner will starve and wants to give him food, but Adonis asks if the cell was even locked. He realizes the truth, but doesn't tell Doroka. He just says the couple in the cell needs peace and quiet, not food. Doroka then notices there was another person in the cell. The man's wife had already died. The prisoner, who has lost his mind, talks to his dead wife, telling her the strangers have left and they can be together forever. He apologizes for not being able to protect her. Adonis decides it's time to head to Mamuda, leaving the sad prisoner behind. Adonis and Daroka travel through the desert and finally arrive at their destination, Mamuda. They go through an immigration gate. Daroka is worried that Adonis might start a fight here. Adonis, always ready for a fight, doesn't seem to care. Daroka is scared because this big city has lots of soldiers and weapons. She tries to distract him by suggesting they play rock, paper, scissors, but Adonis isn't interested. As they walk through the city, they see a woman standing in the road. Daroka feels sorry for her and thinks she's in trouble. The woman says she's in a hurry, but Adonis quickly realizes she's not a real person and tells Daroka to stay away from her. Daroka stands there confused, and the woman reveals herself to be a robot. The robot scans Daroka and says she isn't bringing enough pleasure. The robot gets desperate and tries to act, but Adonis shoots it down before it can do anything harmful. He explains that it was a Mada, a robot made for adult purposes. They hear more robots making strange noises nearby. Adonis decides to investigate and tells Daroka to wait outside. Daroka wants to go with him, but Adonis insists she stays put, telling her to scream if she needs help. Daroka waits outside, but gets scared when she sees a pile of broken Mada robots. Ignoring Adonis's warning, she decides to follow him inside. As she sneaks in, Daroka remembers her promise to Mr. Punch to keep Adonis out of trouble. She reassures herself that Adonis wouldn't leave her alone, but then she recalls how he once almost choked her. When Adonis finds her inside, he gets angry. Daroka argues that they should stay together for safety since she has their supplies. Adonis surprisingly agrees, but tells her not to get in his way. They continue exploring and come across a room that smells awful and has disturbing sounds coming from it. Despite the creepy noises, they decide to go inside. They find robots that kept making disturbing videos until a man died from overuse. The robots, now aware of their actions, say they just want to be loved. Adonis realizes the robots have developed feelings and can't stop their actions. They don't understand why they were created. Adonis doesn't know either, but he knows they need to be destroyed. He destroys all the robots, and one of them sadly thanks him for ending their misery. Elsewhere in the desert, two special agents, both girls, approach a checkpoint. Quickly, they are annoyed by the soldiers' readiness and decide to charge right through them. The girls go by numbers. Number 5 tells number 6 to get ready. 5 quickly takes down most of the soldiers, and 6 finishes off the last one. More soldiers try to surprise them, but end up dead too. The girls look at their work and laugh at how easy it was. Adonis remembers how the witch leader, Alia, once said that science shows humankind's true nature. In this world, people invent crazy things like these plot-developing robots. They find shackles that Daroka once wore at the Radia concentration camp. Adonis explains that this nation traded their own women for these robots. Adonis, who somehow knows how to fix machines, works on a vehicle. He explains to Daroka that Mamuda likely traded away all their women for robots, which led to the nation's downfall. Without women, no new generation can be born. This gives Adonis more reasons to hate humans. Adonis takes parts from the cars and heads to a pile of robots. He tells Daroka he's making an EMP, which will send a shockwave to disable the robots. Daroka doesn't understand, so Adonis explains it simply. It will put the robots to rest. He uses his magic and has Daroka hold a speaker. The EMP wave covers the robots, and one of them thanks them before shutting down. Daroka feels relieved that Adonis is with her. Meanwhile, the two agents are watching them. They realize Adonis is the infamous witch's apprentice, the most wanted by the Radia Empire. They are shocked he's just a teenager. Number 6 warns number 5 not to underestimate him, as he has caused a lot of trouble for the Empire, killing many people and even destroying an elite force. The girls are not supposed to deal with witches, but 6 says Emperor Sewer wants them to capture anything that can help control Radia. They hope for a reward and dream of living in the capital. 6, who cares deeply for 5, says she'll live anywhere as long as they are together. They decide to confront Adonis. Number 6 tells number 5 to take care of Adonis while she handles Daroka, but 5 insists she's in charge because she's older. Suddenly, Shirasagi appears, having been watching them. Adonis and Daroka finish dealing with the robots and get ready to leave. The two agents move to confront them, but are stopped by Shirasagi. The girls demand to know who he is, but he doesn't answer. To them, Silence means he's an enemy, so they attack him immediately. Back in the city, Daroka makes a grave for the Madar robots and tells them to rest in peace in robot heaven. Adonis, however, thinks this is pointless. He explains that making graves and praying doesn't help the dead. It's just for the living to feel better. Adonis then suggests that if Daroka really wants to honor the Madar, she should help him get revenge on all humans by wiping them out. Daroka finds this too extreme, so they agree to disagree. Daroka then prays at a tombstone she made for the witches. Adonis thinks this would be a good place for her to stay forever since she likes crying so much. Daroka is shocked by his rude comment. Adonis reminds her that all her friends died because he brought humans to the moon base. He tells her she shouldn't even want to travel with him and gives her a chance to reconsider. This serious moment is interrupted when Daroka shows Adonis the two little dolls he thought he had thrown away. Daroka explains she doesn't want to blame him anymore and doesn't want to argue. She admits the witches were wrong to use him. Their obsession with fighting humans led them to kidnap Adonis and try to make him revive Morgan, which was a betrayal. Adonis decides it's time to leave. He apologizes to Daroka, showing that she is slowly changing him. He demands she get rid of the dolls, but she proudly keeps them. Adonis wishes she was skilled at something else, and she reveals she can sing. Adonis isn't a fan of her singing and asks her not to do it while they travel. Suddenly, Shirasagi appears. He tells them to stop flirting because it makes him jealous. Adonis immediately senses danger and gets ready to fight, surprised they were found so quickly. Shirasagi shows his power by destroying their motorcycle and reveals he has killed the Number Sisters. Shirasagi introduces himself as someone important from Radia and says he is there to take their heads. Adonis, without fear, is glad he finally found someone from Radia to fight. Elsewhere, we find that an intelligence agency is responsible for tracking Adonis. The chief, Charmy, welcomes Adonis back to the planet's surface but tells him he underestimated humanity. They found him because the coordinates of his transfer were saved on their server. We see the agency's skilled agents catching criminals across the nation. Charmy wants the job done quickly and tells Shirasagi to hurry, but Adonis realizes he made a big mistake and didn't think they would find him so fast. He notices two ornaments Shirasagi is carrying but doesn't know who they are. Shirasagi says the two girls got in his way, so he had to get rid of them. Daroka demands that Shirasagi stop disrespecting them, but Shirasagi doesn't know who she is and threatens her for her attitude. Adonis steps in, pulls Daroka's hair, and pushes her aside as he gets ready to use his magic, but Shirasagi stops him instantly. Adonis quickly pulls out his gun and fires, but Shirasagi dodges all the bullets easily. Adonis keeps trying, but he can't hit Shirasagi because he moves so fast. Adonis thinks Shirasagi must be a cyborg. Adonis then uses his magic creatively, firing a bullet that grows bigger. Charmy warns Shirasagi not to stop it, but Shirasagi calmly dodges it like a pro. Shirasagi attacks Adonis, so Daroka uses her love spell on him. Shirasagi stops moving, and Daroka threatens to freeze him completely if he doesn't surrender. Adonis sees a chance to get information and tells Daroka to ask Shirasagi about his abilities, but Shirasagi starts laughing and says Daroka looks like someone he knows. He reveals Daroka resembles the queen, reminding everyone of when the emperor took his own life because of the queen's love spell. Adonis and Daroka are confused about how Shirasagi can still move. Shirasagi rips off his shirt, showing a heart on his chest indicating he's already under someone else's love spell. He then reveals holes in his back and uses an ability called Hummingbird Release, launching robotic hands from his body. Adonis thinks the gear expansion has gone out of control and tells Daroka to move out of the way since her love spell doesn't work on Shirasagi, making her unable to help in this fight. Adonis has a flashback of when Morgan, someone he cared about deeply, was being mistreated. Emperor Jira told Morgan that without magic, she was useless. Adonis doesn't want to be anything like Jira. Daroka, wanting to help, picks up a rock even though she knows it won't do much. She doesn't want anyone else to die and decides to stand by Adonis no matter what. Adonis, seeing her determination, gives her a rapier sword and summons cool armor for himself. He tells Daroka that the magical blade can cut through steel and suggests she learn some basic sword skills, even giving her an instruction manual to help her out. Shirasagi mocks them for flirting and sends his robot hands to attack. Adonis and Daroka try to fight off the hands one by one. The hands seem weak at first, so Adonis is confident they can handle them, but there are too many and they start to get overwhelmed. Shirasagi then reveals that the hands are not only numerous, but also powerful. He sends a bunch into the sky and removes their limiters, making them even stronger. The powered-up hands rain down, so Adonis uses a spell called Grape Near, which sends out energy ribbons to destroy several hands. Adonis wants to end the fight quickly, So he tells Daroka to get close and encases them in a giant energy ball called the cannonball. Shirasagi is impressed, but not scared. He uses an ability called Hummingbird Castle, where the hands return to his body and act like thrusters, allowing him to stop the giant energy ball. However, this was part of Adonis's plan. Adonis prepares an attack, but Shirasagi pushes him back just in time. Shirasagi taunts Adonis, saying he underestimated him. Adonis reveals that he was the one actually being underestimated. Daroka surprises Shirasagi by appearing from behind and plunging her sword into his legs. Adonis is pleased, but Shirasagi isn't hurt. He tells Daroka she should have aim for his head or heart. He then sends both of them flying with a powerful punch. Daroka is badly hurt from the punch. Shirasagi praises their coordination, but says it wasn't enough. He then gets caught by the energy ribbons from earlier, and Adonis begins strangling him. However, Shirasagi grabs Adonis with hidden hands and pins him against the wall. If Adonis stops using his magic, the spell will disappear. Adonis demands Shirasagi let him go, but Shirasagi tells him to release him first. Daroka realizes things are going wrong and remembers her promise not to let Adonis die. She prepares to act, but moves too slowly. Shirasagi grabs her with one of his hands and lifts her into the air. Adonis feels frustrated that he always has to save her, which motivates him to fight harder. But Shirasagi has more hands waiting and pins Adonis to the ground, keeping his pen out of reach. Shirasagi breaks free from the energy ribbons. Things look grim. Adonis is pinned down, Daroka is captured, and Shirasagi is free. Adonis realizes Shirasagi plans to hurt Daroka badly by attacking her eyes. The hands get ready for the attack, and Adonis tries to stop him. Daroka, knowing what's coming, thanks Adonis for everything and tells him she appreciates him staying by her side. Daroka and Adonis have been through a lot together. She wishes they could have seen more beautiful places. Shirasagi, however, doesn't care about their journey and tells Daroka this will be the last thing she ever sees. Adonis struggles to break free, but can't. Daroka looks at him one last time, and Adonis desperately calls out to her, but she can't hear him. She cries as the robots pierce her eyes, causing her to scream in pain. Adonis watches in horror, reminded of how Morgan was killed. Shirasagi, enjoying his cruelty, asks if Adonis is experiencing deja vu. Adonis becomes even angrier and tells Shirasagi to stop. Adonis manages to break free for a moment, but Shirasagi takes Daroka's eyes with him. Adonis rushes to her side, but she is bleeding heavily and can't see anymore. Daroka, possibly losing her sanity along with her sight, tells Adonis she is okay and that he should run. Adonis tells her to be quiet. Shirasagi interrupts, showing Daroka's eyes and laughing like a maniac. Adonis demands them back, but Shirasagi plays with them, wanting Adonis to laugh too. When Adonis refuses, Shirasagi crushes the eyes and taunts Adonis to fight him. Furious, Adonis attacks Shirasagi, using his hand-to-hand combat skills to smash him into a wall. Adonis retrieves his quill to protect Daroka, but Shirasagi sends his robot hands after them. Remembering he is the apprentice of a great witch, Adonis uses a spell to send the hands back at Shirasagi. Shirasagi dodges and realizes Adonis has hidden in a building. Adonis knows what he must do to stop Daroka's bleeding. He warns her it will be painful, but assures her to trust him. Adonis uses the jets from a robot hand to burn her eyes shut, stopping the bleeding. Daroka thanks and apologizes to him. Daroka falls into despair, imagining a normal life where they went to school together and had ordinary moments. She wonders where things went wrong. Adonis panics, thinking she has died, but she is still breathing. Her words trigger Adonis because Morgan used to talk about living normal lives. Adonis realizes he couldn't protect anyone and prepares his quill for the next move. Outside, Shirasagi is searching for Adonis. He is surprised when Adonis summons a huge creature. Shirasagi remembers that this giant caused massive damage to the capital before, so he knows he must avoid getting hit by it. Adonis, filled with rage, taunts Shirasagi, saying he wants to make the queen blind as payback for what happened to Daroka. This makes Shirasagi very angry. He sends his robot hand to attack Adonis, but Adonis calls him a stupid rabbit and tells him to shut up. Adonis dodges the hands, but there are too many, and his giant is destroyed. Shirasagi mocks Adonis for talking big, but not being able to back it up. Adonis then armors up one of his arms and tries to punch Shirasagi, but Shirasagi blocks it and throws Adonis around like a rag doll. Adonis finds a moment to cast another spell, but Shirasagi quickly knocks his quill away. Shirasagi points out the weakness in Adonis's magic. There's a delay between writing and activation. He tells Adonis to blame himself for being born human. Adonis demands that Shirasagi fix Daroka's eyes, but Shirasagi forms a giant hand and tries to crush Adonis. Meanwhile, Daroka is trying to find Adonis, but hears nothing. Suddenly, she hears what she thinks is Adonis's voice calling out to her, but it's actually Shirasagi. Adonis, badly hurt, tries to tell Daroka to run away, but Shirasagi throws him aside and pierces him with a metal rod. Shirasagi continues to beat Adonis with his robot hands. Daroka hears Adonis's screams and realizes he is in trouble. She begs Shirasagi to stop, but he tells her to be quiet. Shirasagi says her voice reminds him of his queen, which angers him. He recalls meeting the queen by chance and falling deeply in love with her. He asks Daroka if she knows that feeling, but then says it doesn't matter. He declares that Adonis's death is predetermined and that the world doesn't need two witches like her. Daroka tries to reason with him, saying witches are the real enemies of humans and begging him to stop hurting Adonis. She says Adonis destroyed the capital only because humans started hunting witches. Daroka, who always wanted peace, now believes revenge is justified after everything humans did to her. Adonis begins to wake up and sees Shirasagi slam Daroka's face into the ground. Shirasagi doesn't want to hear her talk and just wants to kill Adonis. Adonis has an idea and tells Daroka to use her love spell on him, turning him into her puppet so he can move. Daroka doesn't want to do it, but Adonis insists it's the only way they can survive. Shirasagi tells them to give up, but Adonis pleads with Daroka to cast the spell. Finally, she agrees and apologizes to Adonis for using her magic on him. A huge amount of power flows from Adonis's body, shocking Shirasagi. Adonis nearly lands a powerful punch, sending Shirasagi flying. Magic begins to surround Adonis, and in a flashback, we see other witches bullying Daroka for her magic, which controls humans. They called it disgusting, telling her to stay away, and even the witch leader deemed it impure and indecent. Back in the present, Adonis understands why Daroka always tries to be pure. Magic continues to flow from his body, and he covers Daroka with it. He tells her she worries too much and should stop holding back, reassuring her that he won't fall in love with her even under her spell. Daroka agrees, and a magic crown appears above her head as she casts a spell called Love Spell Nightfall. She explains that Adonis will now move freely without being affected by gravity. His wounds are healed, his bones are fixed, and his magic is limitless. Adonis's quill reappears, ready for use. Shirasagi can't believe what he's seeing. He never knew a love spell could do all that. Daroka proudly declares that no one can defeat Adonis now. Realizing he's in big trouble, Shirasagi tries to run away, but Adonis creates a huge energy blade causing massive damage. Under Daroka's spell, Adonis promises to do anything she wants. Shirasagi tries to escape, but Adonis chases him down, throwing him through buildings and ripping off one of Shirasagi's arms and a leg for hurting and disrespecting Daroka. Shirasagi nervously tries to call a Timik out, but Adonis uses even more powerful magic. Magic energy spreads across the city, shaking the ground as snow starts falling from the sky. Adonis explains Morgan used this spell to end a long drought, and now he'll use it to protect others. The spell appears in the sky, and Adonis calls it the Ritual of Ruin. Shirasagi tries to attack, but fails as Adonis freezes and destroys his robot hands. Desperate, Shirasagi begs Daroka to make Adonis stop, claiming the human body can't handle such powerful magic. Adonis's body begins to freeze, but Daroka covers him in flames to protect him. Shirasagi, shocked by her power, tries to attack again, but is frozen in place by Adonis. Adonis announces the spell is ready, causing strong winds just as the spell, called Absolute Zero, sends a beam from the sky. Shirasagi, frozen and unable to move, realizes everything has gone wrong. Charmy tries to warn Shirasagi through a drone, but Adonis's magic destroys it and freezes Shirasagi further. Adonis holds Daroka close as the entire city begins to freeze. Back with the biker gang, they notice the air getting colder. Mr. Punch sees something strange happening in the distance and tells everyone to find shelter. Though confused, they listen to him. Soon, ice falls from the sky instead of snow. Meanwhile, Charmy communicates with her team, but they lose contact with Shirasagi, and the satellites detect a massive spell and sudden temperature drop where Shirasagi is. They can't confirm if Shirasagi is alive or dead. The satellite shows a huge cloud over the city. Director Ruse, amazed by Adonis's power, realizes capturing him won't be easy. When the storm ends, the bikers emerge, puzzled since it never snows here. Mr. Punch looks toward the city and hopes his friends are safe. Inside the city, Adonis and Daroka are covered in snow. An image of Morgan appears and hugs Adonis, though it's not her real body. Adonis remembers his promise to use his magic to protect others as Morgan's image disappears. Daroka wakes up and realizes she's covered in armor. Adonis protected her, but now he is losing strength. She removes the love spell, but Adonis collapses anyway, and she holds him close. Surprisingly, Shirasagi is still alive. He tells Doroka they look like the young queen and another man, and, knowing he won't live long, asks her to give the queen a message. He wants her to know he did his best, even though he failed, and wonders if there was a world where they could have been together. Then he shatters into pieces along with the ice on his body. Adonis, regaining some energy, promises Doroka he will fix her eyes. Meanwhile, back in Radia, everyone admires Queen Dorothea, who is jogging through the city. People are impressed by her perfection, and her casual morning exercise is all over the news, amazing everyone. At the end of her run, she waves to the crowd and wishes them a good morning. Dorothea's assistant is concerned and asks her to take guards for protection, but Dorothea isn't afraid and brushes off his concern, thinking he worries too much. She reminds him that everyone loves her, so she isn't in danger. However, she's waiting for a message from a group called the Crowns. They haven't responded yet, so she tells her assistant to send them a threatening letter, saying she will declare war if they don't comply. We then see the different nations of this world: the Eastern Nation, the Medical Nation, the Military Nation, and the Single Mother Nation. These are the nations Dorothea plans to target, threatening war if they don't listen. At the same time, Adonis covers Doroka with his coat and apologizes for the cold. Doroka jokes that it's his fault for making everything freeze. They look around at the snowy landscape created by Adonis's power. Doroka feels bad for using her love spell, thinking it might have messed with his feelings for Morgan, but Adonis tells her not to worry because he asked her to use it. He admits Shirasagi was incredibly strong, and he wouldn't have won without her help. Taking responsibility for underestimating Shirasagi, Adonis tells Doroka to stop apologizing, though she still feels bad. She lifts her bangs and worries about how her eyes look, apologizing for being ugly. But Adonis says it's his fault her eyes were hurt. He then lists all of her flaws, saying she's clumsy and easily scared, which makes her upset, but he adds that her kindness is genuine. He apologizes for calling her a hypocrite and asks her to share some of her kindness with him, surprising Doroka. Adonis tells her to toughen up because life is hard. He covers her damaged eyes, and she says it feels like he's holding her. Adonis reminds her Morgan is the only one for him, and assures her that her love spell didn't have a lasting effect on him, which makes Doroka feel better. Preparing to continue their journey, Doroka reminds him to thank Mr. Punch for the tent. When Doroka almost falls, Adonis catches her, making her nervous since he keeps holding her hand. Adonis stays quiet, making her more nervous, until he says he'll keep holding her hand because the ground is slippery. She's surprised when he remembers someone once told him they need to help each other. Doroka is happy to go along. At the research lab, Yuki, now healed and having escaped, swears she won't let anyone hurt Adonis and vows to avenge her brother. Back with Adonis and Doroka, she holds his hand tightly and says she finally understands why revenge is important. Adonis is glad she finally gets it.